Texas thing.
Texas. Did Dallas secede from Texas?
I mean, considering the state of Texas politics, you never know.
The Constitution of the great state of Texas allows for it to secede without controversy.
And also split into up to 5 states.
Really?
Yeah, Texas constitutional knowledge, as told by a Texan.
Don't tell them, they're going to realize that's 10 senators.
So, Sean, I could ask
I'm
you
from
about-
California, we're already losing everybody to this darn state. Tax base is utterly demolished. Inflation is that we can keep them.
Welcome to Vox Populi with Sean Astin.
Oh, look at you. You guys, I'm feeling very happy right now. So nothing's off limits. It's go for broke. Meme time, people.
So we got a bunch of people in line. I don't want to take up too much time.
Okay.
So many of us out here, there's so many things that different people are fans of. I'm a fan of toy soldiers, deterrents. I go deep on my
Sean Astin deep
Sean
cuts.
Astin deep cuts. Big fan of your most notable superhero. I don't mean Shazam. I mean Special Agent Oso.
Special Agent Oso, it's all part of the plan. More or less.
But
For those of you who don't know that, you're welcome.
There's
It was a Disney Channel show, and it's wonderful, and it's aimed at 3-year-olds, and you just have to apologize to the parents because it does get a little... So you can be a special agent too. 3 special steps. How to tie your shoe. Step 1. Right? Yeah. It goes on.
Now look, I know there's already been a lot of Hobbit talk. I was at 4 Hobbits last night. How many of you were out at 4 Hobbits? But I can't resist asking about 4 guys wearing trademark green, and of course I mean the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yes!
Booyakasha! Sewer apples. Raph. You know Raph? Well, I know you do, but there's others in the room who have this look on their face like, Teenage Ninja Turtles. I'm so proud of that show that we did from 2012 to 2016, Nickelodeon. In particular, the last 2 episodes of the series are high art, in my estimation. I mean, legit, what Cyril Neal was able to do. He was bummed. The show had gotten too expensive, and they were going to do a 2D version, and so they were, Turtles marches on. So he did this like post-apocalyptic thing where he set it 50 years in the future. So none of us looked like the characters that the audience had known for 4.5 years. He made Raphael look like he had this big beard and he was old and grumpy and it was kind of Mad Max, and it was, and I think Michelangelo was dead, or you thought he was dead, and then he had like this skeleton that Leonardo was in a robot. It was like you just never seen a TV series like go for it in a way that like the network should allow. It was just awesome. I'm very proud of that.
One of the things that I love so much about that core cast of you 4 guys is the particular mix that it is, where you have Rob Paulson, who was in the 80s cast.
The original
Raph.
Yeah. I'm sitting there, I get to play Raphael. And he's actually Raphael. He was very patient with me. At a certain point, he was like, it's good. I'm like, oh my God.
Let's meet the 5th turtle, was your voice director, Andrea Romano, who, for those who don't know the name, Batman the Animated Series, Justice League, Superman the Animated Series, I could keep talking for an hour and still be listing her credits.
She's done thousands of hours of television animation directing. She is a legend, a living legend, and just, for people who wonder, you want to go into whatever career you want to go into in your life, but if it's show business or if it's acting or film director, whatever it is, her professionalism, just always prepared, always knowledgeable, great instincts, lets the actors feel like they're, getting to do what they want, but also delivering for the executive producers what they want, and making sure the engineers are just a little woman. Reminded me of my mom. She retired, right? I swore she
retired after Voltron, Legendary Defender for Netflix.
Yeah, and I swore she would come out of retirement, but she hasn't yet.
We'll see. But I know that she is a very big proponent of group recording sessions. How do you feel like recording with the boys made that project so special, as you said earlier, and different than other things that you've been in the booth recording for?
Well, there is no replacing a group dynamic when you're playing off of each other. Greg Sipes, who's one of the greatest all-time personalities. If you ever get a chance to meet Greg Sipes, he wears like these leather holsters, but they're not for
They're for,
guns
like,
or cigarettes.
They're for like lip balm.
Yeah, or whatever. Like, you know, his tonics that he invents, and he's like in Venice. He's just like this great guy, and I think he was the heart of the show because he was Michelangelo. Booyakasha! You know, he was like so big a personality. And if you're sitting in the booth by yourself, you just don't. You know, we're professionals. You can do it. It's fine. We did it a lot. But when he's in there and he does something, there were so many times you're just like, that guy's off the chain. He's just so good, and it makes you want to push a little harder and be a little bit better. And also, you know, with voiceovers, I had a hard time getting voiceover work for the first 30 years of my career because I couldn't hear. You ever watch like American Idol and the contestants are terrible? They think they're like great, and you're like, what are they hearing in their ear that they think it's like? I wish they had a TV. I would add one feature to those shows. Have a TV where they could play back 10 seconds of the original song, you know, the performer, and then what they're doing. You'd be like, do you see? Can you hear that it's nothing like that? And then when we went to do Lord of the Rings, we had dialect coaches. Roisin Cardi and Andrew Jack. Andrew Jack passed away of COVID in 2020. Yeah, it's hard. Don't make me cry. So we spent 6 weeks before we started filming doing all sorts of preparation to get ready for sword fighting and hitting orcs with pots and pans fighting and, you know, canoeing, wardrobe fittings and test shoots. It was like a full-on proper, like, 1940s MGM era. You know, the players are, you know, the movie doesn't start for 2 months, but they're doing dance lessons, and they're doing this, and they're doing that. And so by the time you get to work, you've got these performers who are operating at a pitch, you know. And when we had, when we get this dialect coaching, it was just amazing. They'd show you like a diagram of a cross-section of a head. Like, okay, let's talk about your teeth and your tongue. Let's talk about where sound is coming from. Let's talk about where you're breathing. And so, and then we'd work with it, and we'd do these different exercises and everything. And when I got back to LA, I just started booking shows, just like that. And it was like, I could now hear what they were hearing coming out of me rather than what I thought I might be sounding like. And so even though you as a professional, you can do that, what other performers give you. They do something, and the reaction you have when you're experiencing what they're doing in real time is, it's just irreducible, irreplaceable greatness. And I was so blessed to be a part of that cast. Yeah, really, really, really.
Well, let's turn it over to the audience. Go right ahead.
Hi.
Hello.
First of all, I wanted to say Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking time from your family to come and be with us. I'm sure all of us really appreciate that.
They got me like a new iPhone, and they got me this e-bike, and and they're like, bye, Dad.
Have fun. Don't get into trouble.
Remember, we got you presents. I remember.
So, Stranger Things. I all but forced my parents to watch that show because I watched it first and I was like, oh my god, you have to watch this. And they were like, I'm not gonna watch it. I was like, oh, you're gonna watch it. So
because they were scared or condescending about it?
Condescending. But as I've watched the show with them, they've pointed out little nuances within the show because it's set in the 80s and they grew up in the 80s. They
watched one episode and they were all in, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my god, after one episode, my dad was like, where's Will? I was like, oh, we have to watch. But all the little nuances from the 80s, and obviously you are a big 80s icon with the Goonies, and I was just wondering what, as you walked onto set, being thrown back into that time period, what things from the show and like on set, maybe even like lines, brought you back to that time?
Yeah, it's a great way to start that thought. When a show is successful, when it starts, if it's a big movie and it's a big budget, or when a show is successful and you're coming in the second season or whatever, and they have money, you start to see a different look in the eyes of the prop people and the costumers, because they go, okay, so Bob is the manager at a Radio Shack, and it's like their budget to build out the Radio Shack was enough where they could go and get the soldering irons and little bags of the clips and like all the stuff that if you're too young, you don't know, but when you go into Radio Shack, it just was it's just a part of American cultural life. It's a Radio Shack. You know exactly what it is, and the badge, you know, his name Bob, you know, with the Radio Shack badge, and you know the car, the little gremlin or whatever it was that we were in, and just everything they would do. They come and they show you the watches, you know, and you look at they're like, pick what's your character's watch, and you're like, oh my God, and you look around and you're drawn to something. You're like, that's Bob's watch for sure, and you look at another one like he would never wear that. Like, how do you know, you know? But, you know, glasses, what kind of glasses do you want to wear? Can we get, you know, your prescription in these 1982, you know, style glasses? So really it was everything you could see or touch or feel, you know, and the other actors in their costumes and their hairstyles, you know, and yeah, so the whole mood of what was being done, the house, the hallway, the rooms, the beds, the mirrors, the like everything about the kitchen, the kitchen table, the fridge, the microwave, or the whatever. You know, you just my wife. I've been married for 30 years in July, and in she's from Indiana. Christine's from Indiana, and the home that her family had when I married into the family, it had been their home for a couple decades. So the same iron skillets, the dark wood paneling, cottage cheese on the ceiling, you know what I mean? Like, and you just, walking onto the set was like going home to Indiana, and it's set in Indiana, so. Hawkins, Indiana. Everybody, Hawkins, Indiana. Okay, good. Just want to make sure everybody's with us. Yeah. Thank you for that good question.
Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome to say 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
I mean, I was about to poll the audience. Do we like the long answers? Do you need me to like keep a stopwatch on him? Okay.
I wax narrative, it happens.
Go for it.
Hello.
Hello.
My name's Lindsay. Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
Speaking of fathers, my dad's over here in the front row.
Hey, Pop, happy Father's Day.
Okay, 30 seconds, Sean. 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
On this gentleman as a father, he seems to be dressed consistent with a father.
No,
Stand and show everyone.
You should have
He's
seen
got
this coming.
dad wear. There you go. I think he's clearly got the pride of a father, the heart of a lion.
Michael Rooker was chaotic.
Oh, sorry. You said 30 seconds.
Yes, I did. It's my fault. I apologize. As you were saying.
So I am just a messenger. This is 100% his question. He wanted to know, when you played Samwise in Lord of the Rings, how much inspiration did you draw from the books themselves? And then how much of that character did you put in as yourself to help play Sam?
Well, I think it's the question collapses in on itself, because total inspiration from the books, also like in Stranger Things, the costumes, you know, the wigs, you know, just the dialogue, the sets we were on, the miniatures that they used, the special effect, like everything you did and looked at and could touch and see and feel with Lord of the Rings was an inspiration. It was real, and you just draw from, you know, the actual volcano you're filming on, you know. So, but I think I put 1,000% of myself into it, and I think it reflects not all of me, because I've been quick to note for 20 years that Samwise is better than Sean. Samwise, it's true. He's an ideal literary character that was, you know, forged in the imagination of a true poet and moralist and everything else. So my feet are much clayer than Samwise's. So, but the elements of his determination and that kind of stuff, anybody who's known me my whole life. I was saying to somebody in the autograph line that now that I'm 51, and now that I'm in my 50s, I may be prepared to be ironic. But for the first 30, 40 years of my career, I only have one mode, and it's totally earnest and as authentic as I can make it, and just like hard charging in my way. And you can see it in the except for like 51st Dates or something like that, where you're like you go off the deep end in a different direction. Thank you. No, thank you. Protein safe. Anyhow, great question, Dad.
A little thing that I want to tag onto that. Now, last night, many of you were at Four Hobbits. There was some Bill the Pony discourse. And I just wanted to let you know that no fewer than 7 people came up to me to say, hey, make sure you let Sean know. Bill comes back to Samwise in the book. So don't
I
worry.
know in the book.
Okay, good.
No, Bill's one of the great characters in Lord of the Rings. The movie, he kind of went the way of Tom Bombadil. You know what I mean? It's like, we filmed Sam farewelling him before going into the Mines of Moria, and it was done, I can't honestly remember, but in my fantasy imagination, I would say to Pete, what about Bill? What about Bill the Pony? And so I don't know if that sparked them or they were gonna film it anyway, but it was very quick, like a tripod shot. There was no dolly or crane or anything. It was like, let's do this, and they had the horse there. And bye-bye, Bill. Like that was the line to say goodbye to him, and you pat him. But the problem was it hadn't been. He's in the silhouette of the Fellowship walking across the Shire, so you get the sense that like there's a horse. You don't see Shadowfax in those moments. You see him when he comes back. When Gandalf comes back, he's got Shadowfax. But there never was any like. It was off the spine of the story. So when they camp or something like that, the idea that Sam would be over bitching and moaning about, not having the right thing, or, one of the other hobbits ate the sausages, and now what's Master Frodo gonna get? Like, he would complain, like, Bill was Sam's Sam. And so they didn't really set that up. It wouldn't make sense to set that up. So saying goodbye to him was kind of like unearned. But to me, he lived big in my imagination, so I really cared about that. And I just don't know. I thought what you were going to say is people were going to say, oh no, in one of the extended versions, that shot has been added back in. I don't think, to my knowledge,
Not as far as I know.
yeah, I don't think it has. So, but, my late mother, Patty Duke, who we know and love, the brilliant actress, I told this last night, so I'm sorry for repeating it to our faithful and loyal Lord of the Rings
Fellows of the Fellowship.
Legion. Yeah. I wasn't going to say groupies. That would be bad. That's sort of underselling,
I was
isn't it?
trying eloquent, but
Yeah, I was going for
whatever you
eloquent.
want.
Yeah. Just the loyals, Lord of the Rings loyals. There were people who would follow me around to conventions and stuff in the early days of Lord of the Rings, and I would see the same like 5 or 6 ladies everywhere, all over the world. They were there just to be there, like in support of Samwise Gamgee. They were my loyals. So
The Gamgee girls.
You're the Gamgee, the Gamjets, the Gamjets.
There we go.
And you're a Gamjet. You're a jet from
Up
heaven.
next, the Gamgees.
Anyhow, so Bill, my mom had bought from Weta, the special effects company that did all the practical and many of the visual effects for Lord of the Rings. They got into the toy making business after the movie was finished filming, because it was like, they've got 100 people on staff and it's over, and what are they going to do with themselves? So they started making these high-end models, these maquettes. And one of the coolest ones, I've signed a bunch of them over the course of the last 2 days, and they're so original and so cool looking. There was one with Sam with Bill the Pony, and it looks pastoral and just like, it's just got so much heart in it. It's just a great piece. And my mom bought it, like on her own, without telling me. I should have bought it for her. I'm a terrible son. But I remember coming to her farm in Idaho and walking around the corner at one point and seeing it there, and just like took my breath away. Because I was like, it obviously meant something to her. Like, so I freaking love Bill the Pony, I just say that.
I just wanted to make sure that we close the loop on Bill. Go for it.
Hi. Sorry, I'm trying to keep my composure.
You're okay, take your time.
You're almost crying, so like we're in the same boat, buddy.
7 years ago.
Oh, that's what I needed. There we go.
Hi.
Oh, happy Juneteenth, everybody.
Yeah.
LeVar Burton brought in a bunch of barbecue to the green room to honor Juneteenth. That was pretty special. Pretty special. Yeah. Okay, go, sorry.
Hi, I would just like to say thank you for being a part of 8 different key works that shaped my childhood and teen years. From The Goonies, Lord of the Rings, Justice League War, Minecraft Story Mode, and of course, Stranger Things. My question to you is, what was it like personally? We get a glimpse in Stranger Things Beyond. But personally, what was it like to film your final scenes in Stranger Things? Since that scene and overall, your character as Bob is such a key piece in character development for so much of the characters in the show, both before and after your departure from the show.
Thank you for that very thoughtful and complimentary question. If you picture like at Disneyland, the characters on a ride are on a track. You know, and Peter Pan goes in a circle. Like, oh, there's Peter. And he comes around, oh, there's Peter. Right? Think just for a second of like Bob as something like on a track like that. And the script says, Bob stops running, period. So the track just stops. And I'm like, I want to go. I want to keep moving. But the script said, Bob, they paused it. So it was bittersweet. I really didn't want to die on the show. I was meant to die on the show in the 3rd episode, so it was a wonderful thing that they had kept me. I begged them to let me do something heroic. Begged them, like more times than was appropriate. You know, I kept saying, like, if I'm feeling it in my bones that I want to do something, it doesn't have to be like spectacular, but just something heroic. I promise you, the Lord of the Rings fans and Goonies fans and the people who, you know, they'll want that too. And they were like, okay, and they just sort of took it on board. And when I read the episode, it was like, holy cow, I'm like Ripley in Aliens, you know? It's like, it was like just the all-time heroic, you know, save the whole show, you know? Eleven's off in Chicago going through puberty, so she can't help, you know what I mean? So my kids, my wife and kids who really never come to visit me at sets, they never really come to cons. They'll maybe come for a couple hours at some point or stop by and say hi to people, but they really don't come. They came to Atlanta and we were on the set together and they got to see everything. Bella, who was I think 14 at the time, wanted to do special effects makeup. But for like a long time, like a couple years earlier, Christine and I are sitting in the living room and down she comes in her underwear with cuts and blood all over her body. And we were like, oh, and then we realized it was makeup. She had done special effects makeup on herself. She didn't tell us she was doing it. It was like out of the blue. I don't know what she saw that like captured her imagination that she could do that. And then she was in character. Oh, I was in a subway and I fell down and these guys came over and one had a knife and you know, and we're like, oh my God. You know, and you want your kids, you want to see what they like and you want to help give them that. So when we got to the set, she came into the dressing room with me, and Amy, who's the head makeup artist in the bus, you know, we were telling her this story, and she said, do you want to help with the makeup? And Belle was like, yes, please. So they found a couple of the extras where they were doing, because the demo dog had gone through the hospital and tore people up, and so there were bodies lying everywhere. And when you watch a show, she'll pause an episode, she'll go, you see down the hallway, the guy laying down on his back, if you rolled him over, you would see the cut I did on him. You know? And but then they got to stand behind the monitor, and the Duffer Brothers were incredible with them. They wanted to talk to them. They wanted to talk to them. That's, you know, a lot of times you go visit a set, you know, with Steven Spielberg or something, and they come over and they have a lovely chat to have with you. They wanted to talk to them, to my kids, because they're the age. and they're asking them questions and my kids didn't want to watch it. They were not horror people or scary movie, scary show people, but because they were coming, they binge watched the whole thing, and it was terrifying, and they had nightmares, and it was fantastic, and that, but they were fresh and ready to have a conversation with the creators of Stranger Things about what they liked and what they thought was interesting, and they were going to school on my kids' answers. It was awesome to watch, awesome. And then, you know, once they're putting the blood on me, you know, Elizabeth gets smear some blood here, and it was cool to be showing off for them. Because it was late at night. It's not like it was that hard to do. You just have to be willing to, you know, flop yourself on the ground when there's nothing there and scream and yell like your guts are being pulled out. And if you're an actor, you know, that's a Thursday. So, and it was awesome.